There's a place inside, you gotta let it shine, let it go. You don't need to hide. Soul talking. Soul talking.
Hi everybody and welcome to series 6 of my brand new series Soul Talking, where I talk to real people soul to soul about their experiences in life with their animals and about their spiritual path and journey. Today I have a wonderful person with me. She is the youngest student to have come on my 2-day animal communication courses. She's a lovely, lovely person who's had a real enlightenment on the journey with the courses and on her own spiritual path. She's got loads to talk about. So I'd like to introduce everybody to this lady, Madison Baker. Hi, Madison.
Hello.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and do this interview. It's wonderful. It really is.
It's an honour to have this opportunity to come on here.
I posted something recently about some lovely comments you made and about your experiences. And I just thought it would be wonderful for us to continue that conversation
Yeah.
and about your life, because it's a very interesting life you've had so far in your young life.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important for people to see that people of your age do come on the courses and are just as spiritually connected as people of any age, because
Yeah.
the age of the soul has no bearing on the age of our body. So here we are with you, Madison, as a perfect example. Madison, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Madison lives with her mum and her grandma and her sister. She's got 2 dogs. You've got 3 dogs, that's it. And I know they've been involved in some of the courses as well.
Yeah, they
Um,
have.
and you've also got horses as well,
Yes.
which is wonderful. And you've said here in your bio, you've been obsessed and fascinated with animals from day one, loving creatures great and small, but it was always horses that I connected with the most and or more easily.
Yeah.
Madison, tell us a bit
Okay.
about your life and how you found the animals.
Okay. Well, from an early age, I'd always been around dogs. Like loads of different family members had dogs. So, and I always absolutely loved them. I remember when I was little, we went over to my uncle's house. And not uncle, great uncle, sorry. And he had a staffy called Taz, and then
Yes.
his daughter had one called Lexi. And Lexi was very much like, you couldn't play fight with her because she'd get a bit rough and tumble. And I know
Yeah.
Taz could do the same. And I remember one day I was in the garden running around like the whizzy washing lines, and Lexi was just
The
chasing
whizzy
me around.
washing lines.
Yeah, like the whizzy ones that spin
Yeah.
round. And she was chasing me around one of those, and we had so much fun. And I remember I used to get Taz's treat ball and empty the treats out of his treat ball so he could just eat them instead of having to roll it around to get them out. And that's like one of the earliest memories I have of being around dogs. And from then on, it was just any animal. I mean, every time a horse would go up the lane, if we were outside or inside, I'd either A, run to the window, or B, I'd run out the gate onto the front to watch the horses go past, because I just
So you just
absolutely
loved them. You just
Yeah.
loved animals right
Yeah.
from the very beginning. And what is it about the animals that kind of you feel that affinity to?
It's always like, I'm sure many other people can relate to it. If you've got an animal, if you've had a really bad day, you can go up to them and they just give you love. They just cheer you up, and they're just there for you. No judgment, no questions asked. They're just there. And I think that just, I don't know. I think it's because they're so non-judgmental, and like you say, that it's just unconditional love. They've got no.
Like you say, they don't judge us. We
Yeah,
can
exactly.
get out of bed however we look, and they just love us regardless. We can have a spot. We
Yeah.
cannot feel very good about ourselves. And here's one now. Here's Eva. Hi, darling. Hello. Right, you come down here. Apologies for that. She's come to be part of it. But there's a perfect example. They love to be involved. They love the energy. And they're just full of healing. They really are. What was your life like, Madison, as a kid growing up?
As far as I can remember, it was a very happy life. We were always out and about. We were always on holiday because Cornwall and Devon are our favourite places. It was always happy when we were there. We'd always be on the beach, and it was just, we'd always explore, and we'd be out every day. We'd be doing something. And then when we were at home, we absolutely lived at Bosworth Park for months on end. And we just spend time there, just as a family. We used to go to Twycross Zoo a lot as well.
Well, how did it feel going to the zoos?
I absolutely loved it. I loved it. But then, it's always the thing of, you always feel bad for them, because obviously they're in an enclosure and they can't, because they're not doing what life brought them to do.
And of course, doing the work that we do and you getting involved now as well means that there's more voices for these animals. And hopefully to educate people about these situations where animals aren't happy in captivity. They have a very difficult life, don't they, in captivity? But also we are in captivity as human beings to some extent. So, okay, so there's this little girl, Madison, and her sister growing up, not eating cream teas in Cornwall and Devon and Bosworth Park. And what was life like at school, Madison? Because a lot of people I speak to, including myself, have found that we've the affinity to the animals comes a lot from this, or we gravitate to them because of being bullied at school or finding it difficult to fit in. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what about you?
Yeah, well, from the age of about 7, well, possibly a bit younger, there was a group of specific people at my school, and it was sort of like, if they had a problem at home, they'd come to school and kind of like put it on me and just take it out on me. I know, so it's kind of like, I did struggle with bullying a lot, and the school itself was, I had a lot of issues with the school, and never really settled quite comfortably from about year 1 upwards. I know that the school, it had so many weird different programs, and it tried to put me in one and basically turn the situation and said I was bullying them and made me into the bad person, and they just got away with it. And the teachers kind of like, I don't know what the school's like now, but like they kind of just turned it on me and just brushed it off almost, just to try and like, brainwash me and go, no.
It's sad.
Yeah, and it's just, I absolutely hated it. I went from loving it, and I would always do extra homework where I could. I'd go above and beyond just to make everything perfect. And I think I got like the homework award like twice, which was like amazing. It just went down quickly because of so many different people, and it is always people. Whenever you've got an issue, it's always people.
Never animals, it's always the people. So you'd come home from those situations, back to your animals and the horses. How would that feel? Different, I guess.
Yeah, at the time we had 2 guinea pigs, and it was like, even though people underestimate the value of the smaller animals, they always say, it's cats and dogs and horses. But I had a hamster when I was about, I don't know, 10, 11 maybe, and she was called Buttons, and I absolutely adored her, and she was absolutely huge, and she was a proper golden Syrian hamster, and I loved her, and she was so smart, and she'd just come and eat cucumber out of your hands. And
what was her name?
Buttons.
Buttons.
And she was so lovely, and she was just so loving and cuddly, and Callie had one the same called Angel, and she
Buttons and Angel.
Yeah, and she managed to teach Angel how to pick up her paw for a sunflower seed. That's how smart she was, and it was amazing. And then when she passed away, I was absolutely heartbroken, because I was like, Buttons is gone, and people just don't understand what little animals mean to people.
I'm so glad you brought this up, Madison, because I've only just done a post about it recently about us understanding that all life is just as important. All life's sentient. All life has emotions and feelings, regardless of the size. But it does seem to be, even with my work, more prevalent that people come to you because they want help, because they're finding that their horses are being difficult, or they perceive that their horses are being difficult, or they're having problems training issues with their dogs.
Yeah.
But it's very rare do people come along with situations about a hamster or a guinea pig or a rabbit or something. But I do have them. But it always melts my heart when we talk about these smaller animals, Because how important are they to us as kids? These are
Exactly.
our first experiences of animals a lot of the time, aren't they? Albeit stuck in cages, running around on a wheel, bless them.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they
But
matter, don't they? We have great
they do.
moments.
They do. They really do. I mean, we had guinea pigs about 3 years ago, and our mission was to make like a. We have a shed in our garden, and we made it a mission to try and like. We never got round to it, but we were going to make it into like a two-story play area for them
Yeah,
because I've seen people, and obviously people will buy them a cage and they'll stick them in it, and it's a tiny cage. But then I've seen other people, and they really do put their effort in to make sure these animals are cared
yeah,
and they're good for, and they have the
yeah,
space that they need. And
yeah.
it's lovely because some people out there do care, but then other people, because they're just small animals, they just think, oh, they'll be fine in there, when really it's not that fair on them.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that stuck out to me the most about you to start with was, well, there was a few things, this empathy, this care for the animals, this lovely way about you, Madison, this light that's around you where you care. And that's why I'd invited you, why I'd said to you, well, you'd come to me and asked about the courses, and then we sorted it
Yeah,
for you to come on them.
yeah,
Because you just felt so ready, even though you were so young, you felt so ready for it. But I remember seeing you with the horses, and I also remember that there was lots of times you couldn't ride
yeah,
with in your situation with one of your horses, Fudge ponies,
yeah.
or for whatever the reasons I can't really remember. But it didn't matter. You still loved whatever it did. The riding, it did matter to you, didn't it? But it wasn't the most important thing.
No, it wasn't, because Fudge was my heart horse, and he always will be.
Well, people
And
will
I
know about this. So these are our heart horses. They're the ones that are so pivotal to us. Yeah.
and he was a very bumpy ride. When I first had him, I had him for about 4 weeks, and I fell off him. It wasn't his fault. He spooked because it was getting dark at some headlights going past on the motorway,
Gosh.
and he spun and dragged me about 5 feet.
You weren't riding on the motorway, Madison. Tell me you weren't riding
No,
on the
no,
motorway.
no, 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 no. This was in the school. It's because the fence stopped so far,
Ah,
and because there was a car coming along the road down, like at the bottom of the hill. He saw it and it spooked him,
I'm
and
like,
I fell off.
phew.
Yeah, I'm not that silly. Don't worry. And it absolutely terrified me, and I did think I'd broken my hip, because as I landed, I got my foot stuck and landed on my hip, and it absolutely horrified me.
Oh,
And I didn't go down the yard for about a week after that.
right.
And I relied on Mum and Callie to look after him. When it first happened, I think I don't know the word to use. I was scared of him, but I also felt, that the way I am, I kind of like overthought it and thought that, I'd done something wrong, and he was like, oh, I don't want to do this. So I kind of felt like, is it the right thing to have him and ride him? Is he unhappy being ridden? So I kind of like backed off from it and was almost like a little afraid that, I was going to upset him even more, even though he wasn't even upset, but this was just how
If you
my
rode
mind
him,
was. Yeah,
if you rode him, right? Okay.
yeah. And so for about 6 months, I tried and I tried to just sit on him and just sit on him, not move, just sit there and just relax. And I couldn't do it. I was a bit like, does he want to be ridden? Because I know horses don't stand in the field and go, oh, how dare you ride them? You're not riding me. I'm feeling
Yeah.
left out here, because they don't think like that. They're
No,
just,
of course not.
and so I thought, do you know what? I knew, and it had been nagging at me for such a long time. I was like, I know he's ready to go back.
But you had a lovely summer with him.
I did have a lovely summer with him. That is right.
It was sad when he went back, and I remember that me and Matt, we took Fudge, came with
Yeah.
us. We took him back. You were very brave that day. It was
Yeah,
a big
I
thing
was,
to say goodbye to a friend.
yeah, when I took him off the lorry, his owner was like, look, I'll take him to the field. And I said no. I was like, I want to see him off. I don't want him to think I've had him for nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to take him off the lorry, hand him over, and be like, bye, thanks for that. I'm done with you. Because I know he wouldn't think like that, but I knew that I wanted to send him off and go, look, you're home now. I thank you for everything you've done for me over the past 2 years. And I want you to go and live out life in a field and, do horse things, be a horse, be happy. And so I walked him down the track. I struggled to open the gate because there was 2 other horses that were like, oh my God, Fudge is back. I opened the gate and I let him off. And as soon as he kind of like stopped and looked at me, and then he was just like, bye, and just went straight down the field at a flat out gallop, and he just looked so happy. So I think that's why I didn't cry that day, because I was like, you know what, I know he's happy, I know he's safe, and you know he's going to be safe wherever he is. And then it hit me days later, because you know you go down the yard and it's like, oh, I'll go do fudge, and then you realise he's not there, and it kind of like,
you're like, where is he? Where is he? And then you're like,
yeah,
ding, oh yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah, yeah, that kind of thing.
yeah, he was there, and he was very much my rock through very hard times. And to have him not there now, it's still like bites you in the butt sometimes.
Do you see him? Do you stay in touch with? No. Hard for us to not keep looking backwards, Madison, in life, and moving forward, looking forward like the animals do. And that's one of the massive things they teach us. And in a kind of a roundabout way, that's what he's done. During your relationship with Fudge, or to the latter part of your relationship with Fudge, you also had another very special horse that came into your life by the name of Aero.
I had a really strong feeling about him, and he just looked so sweet and so, I don't know, just so calming. There was just something about him.
You felt a pull towards him.
Yeah, I did. And he did this thing where he would stop and he'd just go backwards. And that's one of Fudge's biggest things. If he wasn't sure about something, or if he was very excitable, it's more when he was excitable, he'd just go backwards really quickly, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what gear to go in.
So the same situation gets presented to you again in a way.
Exactly.
So I guess Madison's got to try and overcome this.
Exactly. And I just kept saying, that's just what Fudge does. That's just what Fudge does. And you know what? I got on him and I walked him around the school, and I was shocked because he didn't try and back up with me once. And I felt so comfortable on him. And from then on, I went over and rode him multiple times. I remember some very, very shenanigan-filled hacks.
Shenanigan-filled hacks.
Yes. We had one day where this tractor came past us with flaming coals in its bucket.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was an experience. What? And then we had a tractor come round the corner, and Aero kind of like wouldn't stand still, and he was like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm doing. So we spun around and cantered along the road, and I was like, I just laughed at it. Like, you know, if that was Fudge doing it, I'd have been absolutely petrified.
You just know sometimes with horses, you just know. And it's how you go about things. It's how you treat them as well. You treat them with respect, you know, and care, and they'll do the same for you.
Yeah, they will.
And I guess he did. I guess although Aero came up against situations that frightened him, as it would for any horse a lot of horses, he had you, and you felt a connection. Because of that connection, you were together. That's wonderful. All of this, I just love it all. And there are really great moments, really happy moments. But I also know that there's been some moments that haven't been so great around that time of you riding Aero and having Fudge, bless him, is when you had a beautiful mare that you've still got. Yeah. And the surprise that came along.
We have a 15-2 paint mare called Tally. Her full name's Talia, but we only call her Talia when she's being cheeky. So it's always Tally.
It's confusing as well, isn't it? Tally and Callie.
Oh no, don't. Tally, Callie, Holly, Molly. It's just.
I know.
Yeah. And we had her in August of 2021.
Yeah.
And we.
Yes, because I met her, didn't I?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and we had her on a full loan, and she was in work, and we knew she'd had a few problems with her legs because she's got low pasterns, and we kind of thought, oh, she's putting quite a bit of weight on, and we kind of
Is this when I came to see
her? No, I don't think so. I think this is before, when we were at the previous yard.
Right, okay.
And we kind of like watched her shape. And I said to Mum one day, I was like, that's not a grass belly. I went, that's the wrong shape to be a grass belly. And so we spoke to her owners, and we were like, is there any way she could be in foal? And they were like, no. And we knew she'd already had a foal. And they were like, no. And then she kept putting more weight on, eating more. Her bed was very wet, more than like when we first had her. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure she's got to be in foal. And so we spoke to her owner, and they came down, and they were like, oh, yeah, she's in foal. And so we were like, oh, great. And we had no idea when she'd been caught, so we had no idea when the foal was due.
Or who the Lothario was.
Well,
in
no,
Bo-
we did find out who it was, and we were sad to find out it was a
it was
13
a
handbag
Shetland.
cob. Yeah, near enough, near enough.
No, was
And
it?
yeah, it was a 13 hand tie black cob
Oh,
to a 15.2 paint. So it was a bit of a mix, but you know what? It
it was
worked
going to
out in
be
the
a
end.
chunky monkey.
Yeah, chunky monkey.
Then I
So
came out. Did I come
yeah,
out to you about that time? Was it?
yeah, you came out about that time with Fudge because you made the comment about the fact that Fudge knew he wasn't the dad, but he was the baby daddy of Tally's foal. And you said to us, you stood there and you were like, "Is she in foal?" And we were like, "Yeah." And so he was like, "Do you know you're having a mare?" And we were like,
A
"No."
filly, yeah.
Yeah. And so we were like, "Oh my gosh." And so that kind of like went round in my mum's head for ages after that. And so she's like, "Oh my gosh, are we going to have a filly? Are we going to have a filly?" And then obviously 3 weeks later, we me and Callie were at work and we got this very panicked phone call from mum going, "Oh, girls, Tally's had the foal, Tally's had the foal." And she'd been down there about half an hour before and she got a call from one of the other girls on the yard, and she was like, "Tally's just had the foal in the field. The foal is in the field. She's had the foal." So me and Callie were like,
Oh, how exciting!
yeah, and we were like dancing around at work going, "Oh my gosh, Tally's had the baby." And then we were really annoyed because we were like, "But we're at work, we can't go to see her." So mum picked us up at lunchtime and took us over to see her. And she was so, right from the word go, we knew Tally trusted us, but Athena is what we named her.
And you were
And
pleased she was a filly
yes,
after all.
very, yes. And we met her for the first time and she was so friendly. And she had very long baby whiskers, which we found adorable. And she was a lovely steel grey colour with 4 white socks, a little
I saw
white
the
lace.
picture when she
Yeah,
was born. She was absolutely adorable.
she was. And she had, the first thing that I made a comment about was she had amazing shoulders. but
Yeah,
when
up
but when
front.
Yeah, and do you know what? We were very worried about how big she was going to get, but when she foaled, she was already sort of up to Tally's shoulder already. So we were like, "Oh, there's potential she's going to be really big." So, and do you know what? She was so sweet and so gentle, and Tally was so trusting of us to be around her baby.
And then
And
what happened?
so the next day they were out in the school all day because obviously they couldn't be in the field. And she kind of like Athena. We noticed she hadn't suckled for a little bit. And she had a really bad tummy and she kept having funny poos everywhere. So we were like, okay. And we put her in the stable and she still wasn't suckling. And so we were like, okay, this is really concerning now. So we ended up ringing the vet and the vet came over and was like, "This isn't good." And so he was like, "I need you to milk the mare whilst I'm on the way there so we can get some fluids into her." And so I milked Tally and got plenty of milk ready and raring to go.
No,
And
I was getting lots of texts at this point, and I was getting
yeah,
lot messages from you and Elaine, and no,
yeah,
Elaine was supporting you loads as well. And you were all just doing everything you could,
yeah.
weren't you, to just get Athena to drink?
Yeah, exactly. So it was like we were trying everything we could and she just wasn't having it. And the vet came out and he went, "Look," he was like, "We've got 2 options." He went, "We can either give her an IV with or a pipe and give her some milk,
Yeah.
and it will be a temporary thing." He went, "Or we get her on a horse lorry and we take her to the vets, and that's your best bet."
So
So
what did
we
you
were like,
do?
so we made the decision because even though, we're not the richest people in the world, we couldn't really just not do anything. And so we got the horse lorry out and we got Tally and Athena on the lorry. And I think one of the most heartbreaking things about leaving the yard with them in the box is the fact that when I did the gate and getting back in the lorry, Fudge and Molly were stood at the gateway just watching, and it was absolutely heartbreaking. And so we went
Well,
all the way over
probably
there.
Aero as well was watching,
Yeah, because
because I
those
know
two,
that he absolutely adored Tally.
yeah, they did. And so we went all the way over there, and it was a very traumatizing time for all of us, really. They had to give her fluids every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Then it went to every 4, every 6, and then eventually it got to every 8. And she was there for 4 days and she was improving. And then we got the phone call on the Saturday morning saying about the fact that her condition had worsened again overnight and that she had about a 40-60% chance of survival because she couldn't hold her fluids in. It was literally going straight through her. and the only other option that they could offer us was to take her to Newmarket, and just to get her to Newmarket was going to be £6,000 just to transport her there. Yeah,
She
they
was
did.
struggling. She was starting to suffer. Yeah.
Yeah, and we went there and we said, and we know we're not supposed to do it, but the gentleman that had been looking after her all the time, my mum was like, come on, like, help me. She was like, what do I do? And he was like, the best thing I would do in that situation is just to let her go. It was like, because, you know, it's, you're putting her through so much at such a young age, and, you know, it might not get her anywhere. You know, a week's time, she might go back to how she was. So we went over there. Well,
You
first of all,
contacted me at that point, and
yeah,
I did some communication with her, and I was being told the same,
yeah,
that she had only come for a short period of time to this earth for whatever reasons, not always for us to know. Same
yeah,
as babies. Why do you know what happens to babies? And we can never, kids, we can't understand why these things happen. It's
yeah,
not always for us to know, but she definitely showed that it was okay. You can
yeah.
let me go.
We went over to Toaster and we walked into the stable, and she had bandages around her neck and a muzzle on and
Yeah.
everything, which was a horrible sight to see because she was so young and so small. And Tally was kind of like, because we hadn't seen them for like 4 days, Tally was like, oh my gosh, you're here. So Tally was all happy to see us, and so was Athena. She kept whinnying at us, and it was adorable. And I don't think I've ever taken so many pictures and videos of a horse in such a small amount of time. And we managed to take her muzzle off her before it happened, and we took some of her mane and some of her tail to keep, and then we had to put her down
Yeah.
and let her go.
It
And
was difficult, Madison. It was so,
yeah,
bless you for sharing something that's, I know it's difficult, and but in your heart of heart, it felt the right thing to do.
yeah,
You
yeah,
went through all of that,
yeah,
come out of the other end, all of you as a family.
yeah, we
It
have.
was hard.
It was very hard, and I think the person that it hit the most was mum, because mum was the one, because she was a grown up in the situation. She had to make the call to the vet and go, we're going to put her down. We're going to let her go, you know, because it's the right thing to do. And mum had such an amazing connection with Tally for so long. Like, Tally just was with mum all the time, and mum would groom her. She would just spend time with her, and mum was like a different person. She was so happy. And then after all that happened and Tally came home, Tally glued herself to Aero and
Your mum
caused
struggled.
a.
Your mum struggled to be around her.
She did. She
I
couldn't.
know.
She couldn't bring herself to do it because she, even though she knew Tally wouldn't hate her like that, because she wouldn't
Of
even think
course.
about it. Mum
Of
was
course.
just there like, she's gonna hate me. I took her baby away from her. You know, I made the decision to let her baby go. You know, and so mum kicked herself so many times and for such a long time. And then when we had the reading done, when you had the courses, it made mum feel so much better about her decision, because there wasn't a, you know, a wrong decision in that situation. It was the right decision, and it was just so hard to get mum to understand that.
I mean, it makes me well up just
Yeah.
that you know, we're all get emotional in these situations because we love our animals. But
Yeah,
you got to know her, you got to experience her, you got to feel that light
yeah,
that she emulated to all of you, and it touched you in a way.
it
I know
did.
that. I know that. So, Madison, we all got to know each other. You wanted to do the courses. You've talked about the courses. Part of the courses are the communications and readings that we go through and practice
Yeah,
as exercises, which brought through a lot of help and closure in a way for your mum with Tally,
yeah,
with Athena. And so for me, it was like, of course you can do the courses. I was worried about your age, but you know, classed as an adult, but you were young, and I was like, well, she'd be all right because we do go through some very intense discussions and
yeah,
situations, and I've got to, you know, part of my work as being a counsellor is that I protect people and create a
yeah,
safe environment.
yeah. It was, and the people that were on the course when I did it, they were so lovely, and
Yes, it was an amazing group of people.
It really was. And it was very emotional for all of us through many different reasons. And I'm a very emotional person anyway. So the smallest thing would upset me and set me off into tears.
You did so
It,
well.
it was, I'm just so happy that you allowed me to do it because it's changed me in so many different ways.
Like
Because
what? Like what?
confidence, for one thing, is to have the confidence to have someone trust you and talk about personal things about their animal, and to share personal things that their animal, as using you as a vessel, has been able to relay back to their, back to their person. And it's humbling, for one. And it's just, you don't look at animals the same way. You learn to know them from another angle, from a different perspective.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I mean, they're equals to us, and if in some ways they're more than us, because they don't judge, they just love.
And you're getting to know them on a soul to soul level on the
Exactly,
courses.
exactly. And it's just so mind opening to animals in general. You walk down the street. I mean, with my job, I'm a photographer now. I do like photography at shows and stuff. And there was a horse go around the other day, and he refused three different jumps. And he was going around with his ears flat back against his head, his tail was swishing. And the judges were like, oh, that's not very, that's a naughty horse. And I just stood there and I said, you can't say anything. And in my head, I was just like, he's uncomfortable. You can clearly see he's uncomfortable, but I could tell from the way that the person was riding him that they didn't care. They just wanted him over the fences, and it's like, it just, you can walk down the street and you can see an animal, and it's like, you don't necessarily have the same pull to them as you do your own animal, but I don't know, it just changes the way you look at them.
You've been on the 2-day course twice,
Yeah, and the
and you've
advanced one.
not, and you've done the advanced course as well.
Yeah.
What about the colours? When I fling those ribbons at you,
I love the colours. Colours are a really big thing. I did a communication with one of my friend's dogs, and he went round and he gave me a colour for every person and everyone in his life that meant something to him. And
wow.
he didn't necessarily give me a reasoning for them, but he just
But
gave
did
me
you
a colour.
understand? Like,
Yeah,
for instance, if the dog gave you blue for somebody, then to you, is it how you feel about that colour that suggests how the dog feels about that person?
yeah, like
Because they're using you, aren't they? They're using your
exactly.
understanding and
Yeah.
feelings.
For example, they've recently had a puppy. Well, he's about 7 months old now, and Ted, the one I spoke
Ted, I
to,
love it.
yeah, he's lovely. He's a Vizsla, and he's
Oh, I
very.
love Vizslers.
And they have Cyril now, who's a, oh gosh, don't hold me
Ted
to
and
what breed he is,
Cyril.
but he's like a red retriever kind of
Yeah,
breed. I,
lovely.
I don't know his actual breed, and he's lovely. And the thing is, Ted's gone from being on his own to being with Cyril, and Cyril's just a ball of energy because he's a puppy, and he's continuously playing with him. And Ted's a bit like, whoa, hold on a minute, my world's been turned upside down now. And
So you've
he said,
helped them.
yeah, and he said to me, he was like, even though Cyril is really annoying sometimes and he gets on my nerves, he went, I still love him regardless. And he gave me the colour yellow, which to me is like sunshine and happiness. And do you know what? That is Cyril. If I gave Cyril a colour myself, it would be yellow, because that's just the way he is. He's just a ball of sunshine. And so
So
it was
colours
so,
are really important.
yeah,
They are,
colours
aren't
are
they?
important.
They
They really,
help.
yeah,
They really bridge something in communication. It's a great starting point. I always say that to people. It's like the colour courses I do. It's really worthwhile and a great anchoring starting point to getting to understand feelings in
yeah,
ourselves, in the animals, and how we can understand it, how they're
yeah,
feeling.
yeah.
I could just, do you know what? We're almost out of time, and yet
I
there's
know.
a million things I could want to talk to you about and could say about you.
Yeah.
I'm so I'm so proud of you, Madison, as a person. I really am. And I'm very careful about people that I allow to come on the courses, and not just everybody that applies or asks comes on my courses. They have to be the right person. And as I say, and I keep bringing it up, sorry, but you know, you've been quite young. I have to make sure that it's the right situation to put you in. And I was absolutely right to get you involved in the courses, and hearing about how you're doing, helping other animals, being out at competitions where, you know what, you know, Madison, you might not feel you can do anything, but there's a lot of healing and love that you can send out in that moment. And I'm telling you, no matter how that horse was feeling, that horse would have pulled upon your energy, would have felt it, that there was some love and empathy and care there. And it all makes a difference. And in those situations, we just got to put it out there. Just send out that love and healing to that animal. And you guys at home, if animals are suffering or you feel they are in situations, you feel you can't do anything, just you know, it's all about the intention, isn't it? The power of our intention, Madison. If we want to heal, if we want to send out love, we just send it and it will be received.
Yeah.
And you're in situations you can do that. So just to wrap up, what's going to happen to Madison now? I mean, I know you've got to go off to college in a bit, but
Yeah.
what are the plans for the future, Madison? Because you have got, she's got the whole world in her hand. Do you know what I mean? You've got everything in your hand. You've got all this love to give, this empathy and care for animals. What are you going to do with it, girl?
Well, one of the things I want to do is, obviously I really want to do communications and offer that to the world, because that's something that I really want to offer. And another thing is, I really want to do the mediumship course, because that is one of my strongest points. And I felt that when I did the 2-day course the second time round, and I had the lovely girl's dog who had like dementia, and the smell of Crocs came through, which was very bizarre. But
you've got such a gift. You've got such a gift, so why not move into the mediumship as well? I know I've got a mediumship course I'll be announcing in a few months, and of course I'll let you know, and there'll be a space for you.
Yeah, because
I
don't
do
know
that.
why.
Yeah.
I just feel like mediumship is just so, I don't know, I just felt so confident in that realm of helping animals, and, you know, allowing messages to come through, and because it's closure for their people, you know, it's not just
so true.
You know, getting answers from questions. It's closure and helping the person as well
to
as
move
them.
on.
Exactly.
It really does help the grieving process. And
It
I
does.
think that you will find many people will come to you in your life, because you're I think everyone will see, you know, you are who you are, Madison. It's there, you know, the gift and the fact that you're authentic about it as well. I think that animals are going to be very blessed to have somebody like you help them in your life. And there is many animals there waiting for you. I know there is. And also that you are very blessed that you will experience those animals, Madison. I can't wait to follow what happens in your life, Madison. You're an absolutely terrific young woman, young lady, you really are. And I wish you all the best. I'm sure everybody at home will as well. Everybody, this has been episode 6 with Madison, and a very special young lady. And it will be very interesting to see what happens for Madison. Courses are available to the right people, regardless of their age, providing they're over 16. And, you know, so don't ever feel put off. Confidence is a massive thing for anybody, but especially for young people. And we can always help with that as well. And once we're connected with spirit, as Madison knows, amazing moments start to happen. Madison, thank you so much for being the guest on this episode of Soul Talking.
Thank you.
This is a real person talking soul to soul, and it's been absolutely fantastic. Next week, thank you so much. And next week we'll have another amazing soul talking about their experiences of spirit and the animals and their life. But until then, I'm leaving this episode with the wonderful Madison Baker. Thank you so much, Madison. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye, Madison.
Bye.
Bye.